Hi, in today's video I'm going to do the first lesson of 5 for Unit 1, General Studies. This is for the EDXL specification, however the stuff I'm going to show you may apply for other modules as well, and other exam boards I should say. Right, so in this first lesson for Unit 1 I'm going to do types of arguments. Right. For types of arguments for Unit 1, there's 5 different types of arguments you need to know. These are deductive, inductive, arguments from authority, and sorry about this, arguments from analogy, and causal arguments as your 5 main ones. Right, so there are 5 different types of arguments you need to know. Deductive, inductive, arguments from authority, arguments from analogy, and causal arguments. Right, so first of all, what is a deductive argument? Is the first one we're going to go through. Right, a deductive argument is where you take a set of statements, so take a set of statements, and then you draw a conclusion from those statements. So draw right, so you take a set of statements and then you draw a conclusion from those statements which are relevant to the topic you want to talk about. If the statements made are correct, if they are proven to be true, then the conclusion must be true for those statements. Deductive arguments, they are a mathematical / logical form of argument. So mathematical / logical form of argument. Right. And now I'll give an example of where a deductive argument could be used in a case. Right. So an example. This is in terms of set statements. So Birmingham is a city in the West Midlands. Right. The West Midlands is a region in England. Therefore, Birmingham is a city in England. Alright, so that is an example of a deductive argument. So what we've done there, we've made a statement, we've said Birmingham is a city in the West Midlands. We've then said that the West Midlands is a region in England, so that's the second statement. So therefore, from those 2 statements made, we can make a conclusion, logical conclusion, that Birmingham is a city in England due to those two statements made. Right. That's the first type of argument, that's a deductive argument. Second type of argument is a inductive argument. Right, so what is an inductive argument? This type of argument, it develops conclusions from observation. So it develops conclusions from observations. If the observation is correct and it's linked with the topic you're talking about, then you can say it's a supportable conclusion made for that argument. The advantages of it is seen as a cornerstone for the scientific world. Sorry about this. Right. So it's seen as a cornerstone for the scientific world. Right. So now I'm going to give an example of an inductive argument as stated. So this example would be for the past 50 years, it has rained in the first week in April in the Lake District. Therefore, it will rain in the first week of April next year in the Lake District. Right, so that is an type of inductive argument. The problem with this argument, this example I should say, is that it's not certain, it's not 100% accurate. There is a chance that that argument could be out, could be false. But due to the fact that it has occurred so many times over such a long period of time, it would seem very likely that that would be true and that statement is correct. So that is an inductive argument. A third type of argument is argument from authority. Alright, so what is, sorry about that, what's an argument from authority? Right, an argument from authority is where an expert in a particular field or subject or something like that makes a statement or opinion, if you like. So, expert makes a statement. Right. These are regarded as a weak form of argument. And this is because of the fact that if you have two people saying different things, then these views can conflict. So two people saying different things can conflict. So, an example of an argument from authority could be something like, I don't know, like climate change doesn't exist. Example, climate change doesn't exist. So you might get one person, one expert, doctor, professor, whatever, saying climate change doesn't exist. However, on the other hand, you could then get another person who might say, no, it does exist because of this, this and this. And that is an argument from authority, and that's why it's seen as a weak form of argument, because if you have two people who have got different opinions on one topic, then that can create a problem, as it doesn't necessarily prove that that statement made by one person is correct. And that's why argument from authority is seen as a weak form of argument. So that's an argument from authority. Sorry about this. Right. And just to point out as well, arguments from authority, they cannot be supported. Arguments from authority cannot be supported, and there can be an error in reasoning. So error in reasoning. There you go. Sorry if you can't see that. There you go. Right. The next type of argument is argument from analogy. So argument from analogy. Alright, so this type of argument is the most deceptive kind of argument. They depend on situations appearing to be the same, and you then draw conclusions from them. So appear to be the same, and you then draw conclusions from those arguments. These arguments are popular in everyday life. So popular in everyday life. So these types of arguments are used in things such as quite a few things: politics, cultural, and religious arguments. Right. The conclusions from these arguments can only ever be possibly true. So, conclusions only ever possibly be true. Be possibly true. And an example of this type of argument can be Danny Boyle like Maverick directs in the past was favourite to pick up the, sorry about this, pick up best director award for Slumdog Millionaire. This he did. So that is an example of a argument from an Algae. So Danny Boyle, in Light Maverick directs in the past, was favourite to pick up Best Director award for Slumdog Millionaire. This he did. So these types of arguments are popular in everyday life, and they're the most deceptive kind of argument, and they depend on situations appearing to be the same. So that's an argument from an Algae. Final type of argument is a causal argument. Right. This is a weak form of argument, so weak form of argument. It claims that one thing happens as a direct result of something else happening. So, claims one thing happens as a direct result of something else. So it's where one thing happens as a direct result of something else. It is often a correlation between the two events, and they can have two very different causes. Example of this would be smoking causes cancer. So that's an example of a causal argument. It's where one thing happens as a direct result of something else. These types of arguments are very weak because there's not a massive amount of proof to prove that those claims made are true, correct. So therefore they are seen as a bad form of argument due to this. Right. So they're the 5 different types of arguments you need to know: deductive, inductive, argument from authority, argument from analogy, and causal argument. They're the 5 different types of arguments you need to know for EDX general studies. The other types of things you need to know are like facts and opinions and things like that. Types of knowledge. So, types of knowledge. So the types of knowledge you need to know are fact, opinion, belief, innate knowledge, empirical knowledge, moral values, and truth and falsity. Right, there are different types of arguments you need to know. I'm now going to go through each argument one by one, types of knowledge I mean, and tell you what they are. You might already know what some of these are but I'll go through them just to check. Okay, so first type of argument is fact. This type of argument is objective. It can be confirmed and supported by evidence. Right. So it can be confirmed and supported by evidence. It decides if a statement is factual. So these are the types of arguments, and it doesn't let thoughts or feelings get in the way of these facts. So there's no opinion or anything like that basis. Entirely factual based argument. These types of arguments, example for a fact, is the sky is blue. So that's a type of argument for fact. Sorry about that. Sorry about my voice. My voice is going. Right. So this type of argument is fact, and that's proven to be true. There's no question about that. And that's the type of fact. It's where someone makes a statement and it's correct, and this statement made is correct, and there's no opinion based. It's just the sky's blue. That's correct because we know that's true. So that is the first type of argument for fact. Second type of argument is opinion. This is subjective. So this is subjective. It concerns an individual's feelings. There you go. Concerns an individual's feelings. It may be judged on experience. So may be judged on experience. And not have universal agreement. So one person might say something, another person might say, no, that's wrong, that's not true. So that's what it means when they say universal agreement. Might not have universal agreement. Then usually not supported by evidence, or just completely opinion based. It can contain emotive words. These being things such as like usually, probably, sometimes, as well as words like I think. That's what argument from opinion is based on. And they're not seen as a strong form of argument. If you were to have an argument with someone over something, opinion-based arguments are not seen as being very good in terms of debating. Next type of argument is, next type of thing is belief. It's where a group or individual hold something to be true. So hold They may be opinion, not always, but they could be opinion. Could be opinion. And should be justifiable. They can also be supported with facts. Right. An example of a belief is abortion is wrong. Due to religious beliefs. Right. So that is a type of belief. It's where somebody or a group of people can believe something due to maybe what it says in the Bible or some holy book which a religion has, or it can be just their own personal opinion or viewpoint which has not actually been proven to be true or false. It's just a belief, not always, most of the time. So that's a belief. And the next type is moral values. These are subjective. They can shape behaviour. They are often used in writings or speeches. They're used in writings or speeches, that's what I put there. And not everyone will agree with them. An example of this is Martin Luther, when he did his I Have a Dream speech. Martin Luther King, I should say. I have a dream. So that's a type of moral value. Not everyone agrees with that. Some people may disagree, but that's a moral value, and they can sometimes shape behaviour. So shape someone's personal beliefs by someone saying something, and you think to yourself, yeah, that's right, so your opinion shapes to what they've just said. And the next one is truth and falsity. These where you say something is true and it may be consistent with available supporting evidence. So say something is true consistent with supporting evidence. And also as well, you could do the opposite as well. You could say something is false. And you must have evidence to disapprove. The statement made. And a statement cannot be tested if it is neither true or false. So, statement not tested if true or false. And an example of this is imaginary friend. Imaginary friend. So that is an example of a truth and falsity claim. And the final statement is empirical evidence. Empirical knowledge, I should say, sorry. There you go. Right. And this is information acquired by observation or experiment. So, say for example, if you're in a science class, and somebody's doing, the teacher's actually is doing an experiment on something, so a teacher doing an experiment. Then you can gain information from that experiment. And that is a type of empirical knowledge, as an example. Right. So there are all the different types of knowledge you need to know, as well as arguments for the specification. And I'm now just going to go over a quick question. So this is a question here. A leading expert has claimed teenagers need a morning lion teenage brain is still developing. And need extra sleep. This was made by Professor Russell Foster. He's a biologist of Oxford University. Research has shown that sleeping times change as we age. And bed and wake times become later and later until the age of 20. So they become later and later until the age of 20. Right. Research in America has shown 25% of teenagers get fewer than 6.5 hours sleep. Per night, this is. However, some experts say they need about 9 hours sleep. A later starting time could improve the mental ability of students, teenagers in morning lessons. Minor changes in the way we time educational activities could have major benefits. From Professor Foster. Alright, so I'll just let you read that fully. So that's from the top down. And from those arguments, I want you to find three things. First one, what are the facts and opinions? Second one, what are the inductive argument? And the third type is, where are arguments from authority? So I'll let you have a look at that for 30 seconds, and then I will give you the answer to the points made, and I'll tell you. So there you go. Right, so asked you to have a look at the statement I just wrote down, and I told you to have a look at where the facts were, the opinions, facts and opinions is 1, inductive arguments for 2, and arguments for authority for number 3. Right, I'm now going to go through that answer with you and tell you where you should have highlighted the 3 different points and found them and stated them clearly from the statement I made. Right, so the first type of point made was where it said the point about Professor Foster here, about the extra sleeping. That point there was a argument from authority. That was an argument from authority, and the point about Professor Foster. So if you got that, then good. The second type of point made about inductive arguments was from the research has shown that sleeping times change as we age, and we need it until the age of 20. That was an argument, inductive argument for number 2. So if you got that, then well done, good. Third type of argument, third type point made was this 25% of teenagers get less than 6.5 hours sleep per day. That is a factual argument, so that's a fact because it's got information in there. So if you got that, then that's good. That's a factual argument. The next point was about 9.5 hours sleep after the expert. 9 hours sleep, I should say, sorry. That was a argument from authority as an expert, or experts have made that claim, so that's an argument from authority. So if you got that, then good. And the final one was the latest starting times. That was the second to last one. Could improve the mental ability of teenagers in morning lessons. That is an opinion, so it's got could, it's used the word could improve, so that's opinion. So if you got that point, then good. And the final point was about minor changes could improve the educational activities, according to Professor Foster, and that was an argument from authority for 3. And that type of question there is a question which it could potentially give you in the exam. So if they give you a source, which is what they usually do, they'll say to you, find facts and opinions, inductive arguments and arguments from authority from this statement given. So you would then have to be required to find those statements from the source given, and you would then have to write them out, and they'll be worth a few marks in the exam. Probably 2 for each, let's say. So 2 for facts and opinions, 2 for inductive, 2 for all arguments from authority. So about 6 marks there. So they're potential type of questions it could show you in the exam if you were to do the exam. And that concludes our first lesson on general studies. For Unit 1, this is lesson 1 of 5. The 4 lessons after this I'm going to be doing a bit later on, covering all the things you need to know for Unit 1. And I'm going to be doing Unit 2, Unit 3 and Unit 4 as well in the future. So thank you for watching the video. Hope this helped for your revision for general studies for an A-level course. As I said, this is an ADXL module, but it could also apply to other modules, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If anyone's got any questions or about stuff they need to go over, or any better explanation, if I haven't explained something well enough, then let me know in the comments and I'll answer that as quickly as I can. But thank you for watching the video, and I hope this helped your revision, and goodbye. Thank you.